Hey everyone, you're watching KTAL News Now. I'm your host, Anthony Mocklin, and today we are joined by Miles Stevens, who is a health and wellness consultant, and he's here to talk with us about some new research from Muscle Booster. Thank you, Miles, for being here.
Thank you for having me, Anthony.
Now, could you talk a little bit about some of the findings from their latest research for people who don't know what's going on?
So we conducted research to just understand what locations across the United States had the most and the least interest in specific muscle groups. And Texas came in with the lowest interest in full body training overall, with just one related search for every about 42 people, whereas America as a whole looked at one search for every 12 people. And going more into detail there, Texans specifically had least interest in lower body training. So we saw three key muscle groups that were pretty much neglected across the search criteria. That was going to be the quads, hamstrings, and the calves, which just shows us a good opportunity just to educate people on how to train it in a way that's holistic and isn't just looking at one specific muscle group in isolation.
And why do you think there's like a lack of interest there, in your opinion, if there's any studies to explain that?
From my experience, people like to train in terms of improving their vanity muscles, looking a little bit stronger. And for a lot of people, males specifically, it's going to be the upper body. A lot of females do the opposite and they train the lower body primarily. And it's just to simply, they want to look a certain way. So why not train that specific muscle group to get it stronger? And while that may have some validity in terms of the bodybuilding crew and just general aesthetics. When you look at holistic training and health and wellness as in a whole, we want to train the whole body, and looking at one specific muscle group is going to leave a ton of imbalances across the entire system.
And could you speak more about the key muscle groups and why they're so important to improving and strengthening?
Yeah, so overall, the number one predictor for longevity is going to be overall muscular strength, and that's going to be essentially how much force can you exert at one time. And the way that we train that is just through a combination of different movement patterns and hitting the different muscle groups within those movement patterns. In my clients and from my experience, I always like to say we want to train movements over muscles, meaning that we don't just want to isolate the biceps in its entirety. Yes, we can hit the biceps at the end of like the workout, but when we're training in general, we want to hit six major movement patterns. And that's going to be the upper push, think like push-ups there, upper pull, any sort of rowing thing with a band or a cable, or even cans or a backpack. Lower push, that could be squats or a split squat. Lower pull, glute bridges. Lunging, that could be forward, backwards, lateral. And carrying, that can be just carrying two heavy grocery bags. Those are the six major movement patterns that we should be hitting at least on a weekly basis for general strength, body composition, and just holistic health in general.
And is there any, I guess, information or resources for people to look up or see for themselves if they're really wanting to get into this and like don't know where to start? Like, do you have any recommendations?
Definitely look at peer-reviewed journals. There are a few different resources in America that are great. It's going to be the National Strength and Conditioning Association, the NSCA. There's also going to be the American Health Association. You can look at the WHO in international folks. And really, when you look at Google searches in general, the number one way to determine if this is valid or not, there's a ton of information out there, is just what is the credential of the person who's writing that article. If they have the most basic certification, that could be like a CrossFit or like a weekend certification. Nothing bad against those, but we want to take the information from a dietitian, from a qualified strength coach, somebody who has an upper level education in that, either a master's or a PhD. And at this point, in terms of just the people who I've trained and who I've been around, the master's is really the predictor of or kind of the bare minimum of what we should be looking at for people who we should be trusting with our health. And that's just kind of moving the standard up. So I would say definitely look at who's writing the article if you're not looking at a government or a bigger organization that is funded on research specifically.
And you mentioned dietitians and like nutritionists. How important is, I guess, nutrition and working out, and like how do they go hand in hand?
Training is here, nutrition's here. It's even. You can't do one or the other. And if you do one and neglect the other, you're not going to see as many results and something is going to take a hit. I like to say to my clients that training is just a stress that you're putting your body under in that one moment. The way you get stronger and to look better and achieve all of your health and wellness goals is to recover from that stress. And that's the other 23 hours of the day. So that's sleep, that's nutrition, that's stress management. All of those things play a role in you increasing your strength levels, you dropping your fat mass, and just achieving all of your health and wellness and even performance goals that you have.
And if someone wanted to start to develop a routine, I know people have different answers when it comes to just how often you should be working out and everything. Do you have a recommendation for somebody just starting and if they should like gradually increase that?
Absolutely. So if you're looking to actually start training and you have no experience, the simplest way to do it is just if you have time for one time per week, you can just do all six of those movement patterns that I spoke about. Do those two, three, even four times back to back to back to back, and then you're good. So a good example here, let's say we have a person who has no equipment at home. You can do a push-up, followed by a squat, rowing a backpack, reverse lunges, carrying some heavy bags, and then glute bridges. Each of those you can do them for about 8 to 12 reps. Again, repeat for about 2 to 4 rounds. And if you do that at least once per week, you're getting all of your movement patterns in. Now, you won't necessarily see dramatic increases across your overall strength. If you're looking to achieve different body composition goals or strength goals or performance goals, I would say the next tier on top of that would be to follow an app that has guidance there, very low cost entry. You can do things at home. A great app is called Muscle Booster, which contains all of these different things that you need totally personalized to you. But there's also a heap of apps out there, but I definitely recommend Muscle Booster. And then the next tier on top of that is going to be finding a personal trainer within your area. Again, somebody who's qualified, who has years of experience, and somebody that honestly you can afford to go to consistently because you can do a lot at one point, and that's fantastic. But if you can't stick to something consistently, you're eventually going to fall off and you're going to go right back to where you started. It's almost like a circle. We want to escape the ever circling circle and move up and continue to improve. And that's just finding something that you can consistently stick to. So if that's only doing the 6 movements once a week for the next year, great, do that. Whatever you can stick to, that's going to be your best step moving forward.
And can you speak a little bit more to your personal experience and if there's any like success stories that you've had with people that you've helped?
For sure. I started working at so excuse me. I started working as a personal trainer when I was in grad school at the University of Tampa. I was working at a private gym there, and we were training everyone from kids all the way up to professional athletes, baseball players, basketball players, football, hockey, you name it. I've probably trained them at that facility, which is a tremendous experience. However, I think the thing that really stood out to me was that when I met people who were coming in kind of intimidated about the gym, didn't really know kind of what to do, it was a little more of a harsh environment because you have professionals who are just crushing weights, moving well, and you've never picked up a dumbbell before. Those are kind of the people that I gravitated towards, and I wanted to give them more support and say, it's okay, this is a friendly spot. And no one's really judging you as much as you think they are. Nobody cares about what you're doing. It's just, can you just show up, put your best foot forward, and just continue. And I think one piece that stood with me from my entire 10 plus years of training has been one of my clients who I first started training when I was fresh out of grad school, and he came in like overweight. He didn't really have much experience. The only reason he was there is because his boss was bringing all of the other chefs who were at his like restaurant to train and get a little bit stronger. And so everybody else was moving well, feeling good. He was a little bit more like overweight, didn't really feel too comfortable. And when I eventually left, he told me, "You completely changed like my entire life. I feel so much more confident. I feel better. I don't even look better. Excuse me, I don't only look better, but I feel better. Mentally, I'm more confident." And so it just cascaded and it showed me the true effect that training and simply exercise and movement has for people. It's not just about looking better and having abs and all of that. That stuff's great, but it's like what's going on between like the ears. How are we thinking about life and just thinking about being healthier in general? And that cascades into the next thing, into the next thing, into the next thing. And it's something that has proven over time that if you stick to something and you show yourself that you actually can do it, the world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want. It's just you have to start and commit to it.
And what advice do you have, I guess, for people who don't really have that sort of support group and just don't have anybody to go to gym with, and they're trying to overcome that fear of being judged and by everyone else?
For sure. I have two pieces of advice. One, it's totally okay to start off at home. That's totally fine. Build a foundation at home. Feel comfortable with the movement patterns. That's where an app could be super helpful there. Feel a little bit more confident moving because if you don't know what you're doing in the gym and you're just jumping right into it, could be a little bit intimidating. So just feel it out, start the movements at home. And then once you sort of have a good grasp on things, that can take 2 weeks, that can take a month, that can even take a year. It's totally fine. But just stick with that. Once you feel confident enough to do just the general movements, as I mentioned, go, it'll feel much easier to go into the gym and do those same movements. So you're not necessarily doing a different workout in the gym. You're doing the same thing you were practicing at home now in the gym in front of people, feeling a little bit more confident, feeling like that barrier to entry is a little bit lower. And then once you feel confident actually going to the gym, you can say, okay, now I can start trying a bench press. Now I can start trying the machines, the things like once were super intimidating. So it's just a really small step. And what can we do that will cascade, as I said, into the next thing? The other thing, friend groups. Friends are going to be your best motivator because if you tell your friend, "Hey, I want to lose X pounds, and I need some sort of accountability to show up." And if you say, "I'm going to be at the gym every Tuesday and every Thursday at 8 o'clock in the morning," if they're also committing to that, it's really hard to say, "Oh, I'm tired. Oh, it's kind of cold outside. Oh, I don't know if I really want to do it today," because then the other friend is going to say, "Hey, Miles, I saw you missed out today. What's going on?" And just that letting somebody else down, that little thing just really makes a huge difference for people just finding that accountability.
And I guess my other question on the opposite side of that coin, you mentioned earlier just about how it's movement over the weights, and a lot of people like to try to like ego lift so they can like look like they're throwing up a lot of weight and stuff. So like how harmful is that in the long run?
Extremely, extremely. There's a when kind of going off to a different topic, but then coming back to this. This is like the same thing when you look at people who want to jump into running. They go really quick. Their zone two pace is too slow for them to feel like they're actually doing something. And so they say, well, I want to impress people and I want to go to the track and not look like I'm kind of just sputtering to keep like to keep myself in zone two. And so they push too hard. And so you're training in this gray zone where you're getting benefit, but you're not actually helping yourself long term, which means that you'll see progress in the immediate, But then over time, you're going to eventually plateau because the base isn't there. The foundation isn't there. So going back to strength training, if you show up to the gym and you say, "Oh, I'm seeing this guy or this girl do this much weight," I can probably do that too because I don't want to look weak. And also, nobody cares. Like nobody cares. I promise you, no one is looking at you and going, "Wow, that guy's weak." Nobody cares. It's all in your head. But if you say, "Oh, I can probably lift this much weight," and then you try it out and you can get through it, but you're kind of pushing a little bit, that's where you get hurt. And then if you get hurt, you start right back at ground zero, and then you do it again, and you try to push harder, and then you get hurt. And it's just this ever revolving cycle. And for some people, you might not even get hurt, and that's kudos. But you will eventually plateau at that weight because you don't have the foundation. You don't have the foundational strength to be able to take on more load, more intensity. And by load and intensity, I mean not just the weight, but just the volume and the sets and the reps too. You need a really strong foundation to be able to build on top of that. It's like building a house. You never want to build a house on sand. You want to build on solid concrete and then build up over time.
And is there anything that I didn't ask you today that you wanted to touch more on?
I think the biggest thing, and I talk to all of my clients about this, is just start. Just start. What is the simplest thing you can do now that's going to move you one step ahead? That can be one push up, literally just one push up. It feels like absolutely nothing, but that's one more push up than you did yesterday. And then you show up the next day and you do one push up. That's one more push up than you did the following day. And so you just continue doing that little small movement that just will push you over the edge. And that's going to be the cascading effect to help you go. I could probably do two. I could probably do two push-ups. It's super easy. That'll take me 10 seconds. Then you do three push-ups. Then you do four push-ups. Blah, blah, blah. Right? So it's like, what can we do right now that will help you tomorrow? And then tomorrow, what can we do something that will help you for the next day? And so if you just think in these small little micro movements, that will cascade over time and that will be so incredibly helpful for not only your health and wellness journey, but just everything that you want to do and more of the motivation to do things that you think are previously impossible.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. This was awesome.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
And if you haven't yet, be sure to visit ktalnews.com where you can find all your local breaking and trending stories. You can find us on KTAL News Now every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. But for now, I'm Anthony Mocklin, and thank you for joining us.